Well, good morning and welcome to today's daily devotional. Today we're looking at John chapter 4, specifically Jesus and his encounter with the Samaritan woman at the well. So on the way to Galilee from Judea, Jesus stopped in the town of Sychar and sat by a well there at the 6th hour. So noon or so was our time. So it's about lunchtime. He's just hanging out at the well. And he was weary and he was thirsty because it was the hottest part of the day. And here we see just more so a glimpse into Jesus's his human side, his very being, his human nature. And according to his humanity, Jesus could get tired and thirsty just as you and me. But Jesus wasn't by himself by the well for too long before a Samaritan woman came out to draw some water. And she came just by herself, which was interesting to see that because most women in those days would travel in groups. So they would come earlier in the morning or later in the day to avoid the intense heat of the sun at the middle of the day. Then the Samaritan woman came to the well without company of any woman, and that she came at a time she was likely to be the only one, which would indicate that she was an outcast. She was well known in her town, in her people group, just for being by herself a lot. Her conversation with Jesus was definitely something of it was an interesting conversation, and because here's a woman completely alone with a Jewish man that's supposed to hate her because of her people group. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. "Give me a drink," Jesus said to her, for his disciples had gone into town to buy food. "How is that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" she asked him, "for Jews do not associate with Samaritans." Jesus answered, "If you knew the gift of God, and who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would ask him, and he would give you living water." So it's not even the fact that Jesus calls her or is even talking to her or associating with her, but he calls her out for how she's living. Just later in the story, she's asking, "Sir, please give me this water. Give me the living water so I don't thirst again. And come here to keep drawing water." Jesus said, "Go call your husband and come back here." And she said, "I don't have a husband," she answered. And Jesus said, "You have answered correctly that I don't have a husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the man that you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." This helped explain why she was so surprised when Jesus asked her for a drink, for she was an immoral woman. No one could ordinarily converse with a known immoral person of that culture, especially because Jesus had no bucket with which to draw water. So he could have had a drink from hers, but again, Jews and Samaritans don't associate with each other. They don't even share things, they don't share buckets, they don't share cups, they don't share anything, because Jews ultimately thought Samaritans were dirty and unclean. But Jesus didn't press her on her reluctance to serve him water. Rather, he took the opportunity to teach her something about himself. Jesus said that if she knew who he was, she would ask him for living water. And this living water, the entire chapter makes this clear, is eternal life. And so if she asked for a relationship with Jesus, he would ultimately give her a life pleasing and honoring to God, an eternal life. But the woman did not understand this at first, thinking that Jesus was offering literally a physical water for her physical vessel or her body herself. She understood that he was claiming to give her better water than she had ever drawn, which was her disbelief. It ultimately caused that. After all, the great patriarch of her people, Jacob, had dug that very well, and the water had flowed there for more than a millennium. And how then could Jesus provide better water? But of course, Jesus wasn't offering physical water. And what was available at the well? He was offering the water of eternal life, the abundant, never-ending substance from God that endures, that we will live forever. Dr. R.C. Sproul wrote in his commentary on John that the water of life Jesus provides meets not just a need at the moment, but one for all of eternity. See, if we trust anyone for spiritual life, we will continue to thirst. But if we come to him alone for salvation, we will understand now and forever. So let us seek the only living water and the only provider, Jesus Christ. Thank you for joining us for today's daily devotion. I hope you have a good rest of the day. God bless you.